Hello everyone, welcome back to Spa Francorchamps then for our final bit of Caterham racing action of the weekend. We've had a bit of a mixed bag of Caterham races so far this weekend. All of them have been entertaining, some of them for different reasons. Yesterday, two races were heavily affected by rain. Both of them, in fact, stopped early off the Checkered Flag. Today, though, this morning, we had a thrilling 270R and road sports race. The Caterham Championships combining some of their grids here this weekend because you can have much more cars on the grid here at this FIA Formula 1 grade circuit than you can at certain others. So they've got another nearly 60 cars heading out onto the grid now for this Caterham 7 310R and Caterham 7 420R race. These are the top two tiers then really of the Caterham racing ladder, and we will have the 270Rs at the front of the field with the 310Rs a little bit further back, and they will each, I'm sure, guarantee us plenty of action. Yesterday, Tom Allen won that rain-shortened race that was stopped about 13 minutes shy of the Checkered Flag. No, he didn't. That's the 270R result, excuse me. Yesterday's 420R race, there we go, was won by John Byrne after 8 laps, so we did at least get 21 minutes of racing in, with David Henderson in second place and Aaron Head in third. The 310Rs were won by Tom Grensinger with Lee Bristow and Andrew Perry, but quite frankly, it was a matter of who managed to stay on the circuit the longest there at the end, and the race actually ended under safety car in a way as a result of the very, very severe rain that we were suffering. It meant that they weren't able to get to the end of the race, but they ran a couple of laps behind the safety car to ensure that the results, or whether this was the intention or not, I don't know, but it certainly did ensure that the result was, at least, even if it went back a lap, it didn't change, if you see what I mean. Whereas usually when the red flag comes out, the results go back one lap, and all sorts of things might have happened within the space of a lap or so in the previous races yesterday. So thankfully today, much more pleasant conditions. It's getting a bit too warm now, quite frankly, but how very British of me to complain about the weather. 21 degrees ambient temperature, 36.5 degree track temperature. These cars will have to consider their tyres. They don't run on slick tyres, but they do run on a sort of track day tyre, so it's a very lightly grooved tyre, which will wear out as the temperature starts to take its toll. And I'm sure we'll see some drivers maybe managing those tyres a bit more than others. 30 minutes will be the duration of the race as well. So quite a long race. And what we saw in this morning's 270 and road sports race was that the first 10 minutes were pretty epic. In fact, the first 15 were really. They maybe had a lap off in the middle where they stayed vaguely in the same sort of order. And then all of a sudden they started to panic because they realised they were getting into the last 10 minutes of the race and they needed to start jockeying for position again, and they did so, and we had all sorts of changes. Both of the categories were won with last corner overtakes. That's how close it got in the previous race for the 270Rs and the road sports. The 420Rs and 310Rs should be exactly the same. In the championship, by the way, it's Timothy Dickens who leads the 420, or led the 420R championship coming into this weekend by just a single point over David Henderson. But Henderson finished second yesterday, and Timothy Dickens finished all the way down in 11th place. So it is Henderson that's taken over the points lead now. Henry Heaton finished 7th, and he was 3rd in the points. So that will probably have been enough just about for him to move ahead of Dickens as well. So Timothy Dickens, the number 44 car, starting 11th on the grid. One to watch here, I think, to see if he can maybe claw back some of those lost points and maybe even get the championship lead back. In the 310Rs, Jay McCormack was leading, arriving here this weekend. Well, he finished 5th in yesterday's race. Gordon Sawyer was 2nd and finished only 1 place ahead of him and was 18 points further back. David Yates was 3rd in the points, but some way back in the championship standings and didn't feature at the very sharp end of the field. So in 310Rs, it stayed fairly static with Jay McCormack, number 25, and Gordon Sawyer, number 77, both of whom were involved in the race-long duel for the lead of the 310Rs. They were really, they're still the two to beat in the championship as they were when we arrived here at Spa a day or so ago. So the revs are starting to rise then. The cars are shortly going to be released onto the race, the green flag lap, excuse me. Panic for a second because I saw them, there was quite a lot of overtaking going on the run to the first corner, but this is the green flag lap that's getting underway, so they've got a chance to check out the situation around the circuit. You can see that cement just down at the first corner, which was catching people out in our previous race for the BRDC British Formula 3 Championship, and the rear-facing onboard. Look at this. That's I'm sure this will see a lot of action. That's a brave place to put an onboard camera in a Caterham because front-to-rear contact is not unheard of. This is on board with Aaron Head looking not ahead but behind at Matt Higginson. So Matt Higginson, who finished 5th yesterday, Aaron Head was 3rd in yesterday's result, and they will start again towards the sharp end of this one. Matt Higginson looking for his first victory, in fact, in Caterham racing, having come from the 750 Motor Club's RGB Championship. This is Aaron Head, who we rode on board with a lot yesterday as he was fighting the car through the wet conditions. Here's how they line up then. The 420Rs first, so John Byrne and David Henderson make up the front row of the grid because they were the top 2 in yesterday's race. Then it's Aaron Head even and Alex Coerbely with Matthew Higginson and Jamie Falvey on the 3rd row of the grid. Henry Heaton and Justin Armstrong are next. They're on row 4, and then row 5 for Chris Bates and Chris Orby. A pair of Chris's together then rounding out the top 10. Timothy Dickens, the erstwhile points leader, is down in 11th with Mike Evans 12th. 13th on the grid, sharing the 7th row, is Russ Olivan with Paul Browse alongside him. So Chris Hoy ought to know where this circuit goes by now because he's already done a 1-hour stint in the British GT Championship. He's got Ian Sparshott alongside him on row 8. Row 9 for Alex Jordan and Matthew Welch with Doug Thane. The last of the 420Rs, apart from Rich Dainscote, who was a non-finisher yesterday, he gets tagged onto the back of the 420R grid. Tom Grensinger leads in the 310Rs then. He's got Lee Bristow alongside him on the front row of their grid with Andrew Perry and Gordon Sawyer on row number 2. Row 3 for Jay McCormack and Pete Walters. And then row 4 for Matt Topham and Ben Gillias. The 5th row for Jake Swan-Dixon and Richard Lambert. Row 6 is shared by Tim Child and Harry Senior, and the 7th row then is where we find Andy Whitten and John Shiverall, and we're only about 2/3 of the way down the grid now. Simon Sharrock and Alan Cooper make up the next row of the grid, then Nathan Bell and Mark Roberts, followed by Donald Henschel. Now Donald Henschel had a spin yesterday at La Source, so he should be able to make progress from there. He's got Michael O'Reilly alongside him, then Kevin Cooper and David Ridley with Greg Hyatt and Dave Bullock, 43rd overall on the grid. Jeff Bryce and Caroline Everett are next up, then Martin Pratt and Mark Davis, and the rest of them just keep on coming. As I said, we had 58 starters yesterday, and I think I'm right in saying they're all back out there. I don't recall anybody to get sustaining any significant damage, so they should all be able to take to the start. And at the back we will have our 310R retirements from yesterday's race, James Beardwell and Aman Powell. There is confirmation of those cars at the back of the grid. And breathe. So that's what 58 Caterhams look like as they make their way around the green flag. They won't all pile into the first corner together though. There will be a separate start for the 420Rs and the 310Rs. The 310s will leave the grid about 10 or 15 seconds later than the 420s, and that will be the way it works at the start, which means that then we have to sort of cut backwards and forwards from one battle to the other in order to try and bring you all of the action. And even then we won't bring you all of the action because there is just simply too much action to be able to cover at the same time. There's Lee Bristow going through then. Lee Bristow second of the 310Rs. 310Rs meaning that they've got 155 brake horsepower per tonne. The 420s 210 per tonne. They weigh about half a tonne. That's how we make that calculation. Fairly simple really. And John Byrne in the DW Motorsport car on the pole position. DW Motorsport and DPR Motorsport run an awful lot of cars in the various Caterham Championships, particularly this one. There are about half a dozen DPR cars, if not more, and a similar amount of DW Motorsport machines out there as well. It's Byrne then, who won yesterday's race by 2.1 seconds, but as I said, that was truncated because of the weather, which I don't think we have to particularly worry about today. It's there are clouds in the sky, but they're not as ominous as the clouds we saw yesterday, so we should be hopefully clear weather-wise here today. So the grid starting to line up, but this itself is a long process, so any tyre and brake temperature you've just gained, if you're John Byrne or David Henderson on the front row of the grid, will pretty much all have evaporated by the time the race actually gets underway, which will not be for another minute probably, as the rest of them try and find their way to their grid markings that aren't particularly clear here at Spa. Actually, a lot of the cars have to simply line up where a grid marking ought to be, because the only grid markings we have are the staggered grid markings, which are used for things like Formula 1, for example. You can see them, but you can see cars having to line up sort of in the middle of the road, and so they're not all exactly in a perfect line as they normally would be, but that's just another one of the quirks of this Spa circuit. There's Aman Upal then at the back of the grid, number 94, just coming into position. We'll watch with interest to see what progress he and James Beardwell can make from the back after their retirements yesterday. The field then is set for 30 minutes of Caterham action, or nearly set anyway. Now it is. Visor goes down. Aman Upal is ready for the start, and so are we, with John Byrne and David Henderson on the front row of the grid for the 420Rs. They will be the first group of cars to launch from the line, which will happen when the red lights go out, which happens now. Away they go. Oh, there's a non-starter further back there, or a car that's slow away is number 55, which does now get going, but that car unfortunately losing quite some ground was Russ Oliphant at the front of the field, though. David Henderson goes right around the outside of John Byrne to try and take the race lead. A couple of them run wide behind. How did that one settle itself out, though? I wonder. On board with Aaron Head as he goes out of La Source down to Eau Rouge for the first time. And it is still Byrne the lead. Henson's actually down to third now behind Matt Higginson. Aaron Head there getting a very close-up view from behind him of the 92 of Jamie Falvey. The 310Rs now burst into life as well, and they are going to be led by Tom Grensinger, the blue car. And up the inside was also coming Gordon Sawyer by the looks of it there, trying to pick up a few places. Number 11, Andrew Perry, as well, was gaining ground from the second row of the 310R grid. And it looks as though it will be the 11 car then of Andrew Perry that comes out of that in second position, side by side for third then. Gordon Sawyer, the yellow car, dropping backwards slightly now. Lee Bristow is that into third. I think it is the orange car, so clean start for both groups then, as the leaders head up the Kemmel Straight in the 310Rs. The overall race leaders are about 10 seconds further up the road. We're on board with Aaron Head then in third position at the moment, we believe. And looking back at David Henderson, so where did Matt Higginson go? Is he still in front of us? No, Higginson's dropped right back actually, so it's actually number 92, Jamie Falvey from 6th on the grid, that's got into second place. But John Byrne is making a break here, and if you can break the toe in these cars, that is a huge part of the battle won. There was almost contact there between a couple of cars further back. Aaron Head is nearly into the back of the blue car of Henry Heaton. I think just drove around the outside of him actually, so it's not been a great first lap this for Aaron Head. He's back up the inside again, looking to try and retake third position. Into the pith path. Heaton will have the inside line for the Lex left-hander and will fight back, no doubt, which he does. So actually Aaron Head is not able to make it stick. So the big loser here then, green number 83 car of Matt Higginson, who started 5th and is still only about 6th or so, but he was briefly into second place on the run into Eau Rouge for the first time. Lots of shuffling of the order, as you can see in the on the tower on the left-hand side of your screen. We're back with Aaron Head now, watching the slipstream take effect as he pulls to the left-hand side then, but which way do you go? Because they're also catching the Falvey car in front. Heaton goes to the right, so Head goes with him. And Henry Heaton will go into second place. Can Aaron Head follow him through? Yes, he can. Turns into the corner, gets there in third position. So Jamie Falvey a sitting duck, and now Aaron Head going for second place. But this is why John Byrne's getting away, because this lot are all falling over each other to try and be second. They really need to try and coordinate this better, get in a bit of a line, and see whether or not they're able to catch the race leader Byrne. Sideways out of the bus stop. And back across the line they go then, end of lap number 1. And John Byrne with a 2.1 second lead already at the end of the opening lap. That definitely means he's broken the slipstream, so they're going to have to really work with each other to try and catch him again. Still maintain that if they did work with each other for a few laps, they would be able to catch him, but that's coordinating Caterham racers mid-race is not the easiest of tasks. Eau Rouge again then, Aaron Head ahead of Heaton now, and Heaton's who's a driver who's very much caught through the Caterham Motorsport ranks. Great advert for the Caterham ladder, and he gets a good exit there from Eau Rouge, pulls alongside Aaron Head, and there's just nothing that Head can do. He has to concede because the slipstream has allowed Heaton to pull alongside. But look, when they get side by side, there's actually no real advantage either way, and so Head is able to stay level with Heaton and get into the corner first. But again, they're a tenth or so slower than Byrne. They need to try and work together here, but I may as well say that to a brick wall. They're not going to listen to me. They are busy racing each other for second position. Screeching of tyres there, brilliant stuff this from Aaron Head, with forward and rearward facing cameras, as we get this real view of the downhill run through the middle sector. Now this is a four-way fight, I think, for the lead in 310Rs. And the 310Rs were being led by Tom Grensinger at the start of the lap, but now he's down in third or fourth. It's Rob Perry that's gone through into the lead with, I reckon that was Lee Bristow in second position. Let's have a look. 91 is indeed Lee Bristow. Grensinger down to third now, and Alan Cooper in the mix too, with Pete Walters rounding out the top five at the start of the lap. Grensinger back up the inside there of the second place man, Lee Bristow. This is, if anything, even closer stuff than in the 420Rs, where John Byrne is rather pulling away. And again on this lap, in the middle sector, he was a couple of tenths quicker than Aaron Head behind him. So we'll focus on the 310Rs for now. Green flag in the background. Now that means there's usually a yellow flag at the preceding corner, at Bruxelles that would be. So not sure what's gone on back there. We may have lost somebody. 115 up the inside there. That's David Yates, who's come from near off the back of the grid, so he's overtaken a fair few cars. As for second place in the 420Rs, it's Henry Heaton back in front of Aaron Head, who's almost pushing him through Blanchimont and then dives back to the inside. Now that might be them trying to work together, actually, as daft as it sounds. If one car has a run, it makes sense to let them go rather than race each other too hard. It did look as though maybe Heaton pulled out of the way, but then immediately gets back alongside again as they come across the start-finish line. So Heaton is looking for second, goes to the outside into La Source, but Head will have the inside, and now Jamie Falvey also looking to the inside of him. Very close stuff through the first corner. Matt Higginson goes around the outside line. It all works out with Head in front, but there's a car slowing down in the background. One car pulling off at the side of the road. Didn't catch who that was. It was someone running towards the back of that lead pack. Now, Richard Ainscough, who was in 8th, had just set the fastest lap, so I hope it wasn't him. It's a Team Parker racing car, I can tell you. But beyond that, I can't see a number, so we'll try and get that for you in a moment. Whoever doesn't come through at the end of the first sector in a moment will be the car that we've lost. Henry Heaton, though, getting a push from Jamie Falvey. Oh, who then goes to the inside of Aaron Head, and they go either side of our onboard driver. Heaton goes through, Head trying to fight back again. It'll be middle ground into Lake Carmo. Oh, there's contact, and Aaron Head is off, and off goes Matt Higginson as well. Oh, crunch into the barriers for Aaron Head. I said that was a brave place to put that rear-facing camera. Amazingly, he's going to select first gear and carry on, but Aaron Head off into the barriers going through Lake Com, and unfortunately, what looked like it was a very entertaining close-fought battle for second place has all gone a bit awry at the top of the hill. Back with the 310Rs now, as they head out of La Source and pour back down the hill to Eau Rouge. And here's a replay. So Heaton goes to the outside, Falvey goes with him, and then Falvey dives to the inside line, and Matt Higginson is the man who makes contact, I think, here. Head moves to the right, and then, starts moving back to the left, but Higginson was alongside. I don't think Aaron Head knew he was there. And Higginson, I think, maybe was the innocent victim there, but they've both lost time, as now the 310Rs have tried to recreate that situation, now with Andrew Perry in front. For Tom Grensinger second. Here's the external shot, so we'll see here where the Head moves over. It looks like he just starts to drift to the right. Oh, yes, 100% moves to the right. Nothing Higginson could do to avoid that. That looked even more blatant from the outside view than it did from the onboard, and Higginson, I think, got away without too much damage, but Aaron Head with slightly more and may have to make his way into the pit lane. Well, this is playing beautifully into the hands of John Byrne, it must be said, who's getting away now from Henry Heaton second. Coming up the inside for third is Alex Kirbley, and then Jamie Falvey fourth. Tim Dickens, I think, is next, and then Matt Higginson, remarkably, is still there in sixth, so he's still actually with this pack of cars. The car really didn't seem to sustain any damage. It's even kept all of its wings on board, I think, so no damage at all for him. Up the inside for second now goes Kirbley. I maintain, again, I sound like a stuck record, I know, but they are not working together, and so the lead gap is going out every lap. John Byrne now enjoys a 4.1 second cushion, and they're side by side again now with Heaton to the outside of Kirbley. So it's almost as if they've just decided, right, well, we're not going to win this race, guys, so we might as well just have some fun fighting for second place. Up the inside comes Falvey now for third place, and Kirbley, as soon as he got into second, is now down to fourth, maybe fifth, maybe even sixth if Matt Higginson has anything to do with this. Also joining in is Tim Dickens there. As I said, the black number 44 car pulls himself alongside Jamie Falvey into Eau Rouge, goes through. They almost bang wheels. That's not a part of the circuit you want to be doing that. And then we start the slipstream game again, all the way up the Kemmel Straight. There's Byrne. Now, Heaton is getting away slightly here from the cars behind. Doubtful he'll be able to catch Byrne on his own, though. He probably will need some help. What order are they going to be in behind him, though? They haven't yet decided that. Falvey up the inside, I think, will go third here. And he does. Tim Dickens back down to fourth. And And then back to the 310Rs. And it's all changed again here, as is often the case. On order of the in now, it's Grenzinger back in front by the looks of it, with Andrew Perry second, but going back up the inside and going through. And Jay McCormack then, the other blue car with the red highlights, running in third place. Donald Henschel there, one car running wide, that's Ben Gillias in the number 30. Donald Henschel, I'd spotted though, had started to make ground up. He started 20th in class and is now into about 8th place, I think, so it may be even higher than that. 5, 6, 7, no, 8th place for Henschel then, the blue and white car. So Henschel may yet gain some more ground here as well, because they're running side by side in front of him, which means that they're going to be going slowly. He might be able to pick another couple off as well as they go up the Kemmel straight. Grenzinger pulls to the inside of Rob Perry for the class lead, and also going with him Jay McCormack. So they're almost 3 abreast for a moment, as they're almost 4 abreast in fact for a moment as they head into Lake Com. McCormack should get it. Gordon Sawyer on the inside as well. All around the outside, in fact, sticks Tom Grenzinger. And so yesterday's winner not proving at all easy to get out of the race lead again today, so he holds on. Second place for McCormack, side by side for third then between Sawyer and who's that going around the outside? Well, in fact, Sawyer's got someone around the outside, that's Andrew Perry, and up the inside was looking the 77 of, the 71, excuse me, of Alan Cooper. Yes, he finished 16th yesterday and is now into the top 5, again proving that track position doesn't count for a huge amount in Caterham racing. You can go from 7th to 1st in one straight sometimes if you time it out right. Of course, the drivers would rather start towards the sharp end, but they know that it's, if you're going to try and lead every lap, it's pretty futile unless you can break the toe and pull the pin, as John Byrne's done at the front of the 320s. Gordon Sawyer there running wide through Pouon, and that will lose him more places. And now Donald Henschel's into 5th, so the blue and white car there, 119, with a really strong performance here. From, where did I say he started? 19th on the grid, into the top 5 already. We're not even halfway through, and Aaron Head is in the pit lane. That's not a huge surprise, again, potentially because of the contact and the damage he would no doubt have sustained, and he's saying he's bouncing around, I think, on the suspension, so it sounds like he's got suspension damage somewhere. Just trying to listen in there to Aaron Head's conversation, but couldn't quite make out what he was saying. Back to the drivers that he was racing with, though. And Matt Higginson, the man that he made contact with, is starting to make his presence felt as well at the front of the field. He's up the inside of Henry Heaton now. Jamie Falvey, I think, is going to go into 2nd place here. And he does, and Heaton with Higginson, the green car, up the inside, but Higginson can't do it. Has to then try and get a gap back in line before the cars behind him start to gang up, and then there's about 16 cars fighting for the lead of the 310R. But every time we come here, it seems to be either Tom Grenzinger or Andrew Perry who lead the way, and at the moment it's Grenzinger leading with Perry down in 3rd, and Jay McCormack separating them at the moment in 2nd place. Andrew Perry, though, looks up the inside there into La Source. We've also got Alan Cooper there, the grey car, 4th. And who's the white car that shed a wing in 5th, because they've just got themselves ahead of Henschel. And that will be 5th place in the 310Rs. Jake Swan-Dixon, yes. So Jake Swan-Dixon, number 66, who now loses out again to Henschel through Eau Rouge. And then flies straight back again on the exit and end up 3 wide once more down the Kemmel Straight. It's amazing. This time yesterday, I was climbing up down from the ceiling when I saw cars running side by side through Eau Rouge, but it's sort of you've become a bit blasé about it with Caterham racing, because you can run side by side, it seems, through every corner on this circuit. They can attempt 3 abreast through most parts of it. Through goes McCormack into the lead of the race now. You can see why it doesn't really matter where you are at the start of the race, because if you can pick your way through the pack, then you can gain so many places in a pretty short space of time, really. 88 there doing just that is Pete Walters. He's had a bit of an up and down race. Started the race 6th place in class. He's dropped down a bit now, but he's started to close back on the front runners now, because he's up the inside of Jake Swan-Dixon there through Brussels, and Jake Swan-Dixon was about 3 places higher than that a couple of corners ago. 420s. Still Heaton then in 2nd, or back ahead now, Falvey, I should say. Then Higgins and Dickens and Coerbely, the red car, who was, again, a lap or so ago at the front of this queue. They're now 8.6 seconds behind John Byrne, though, so they're not going to catch the race leader here. John Byrne has well and truly gone. Even if they did now, by some miracle, start coordinating this and working together, Byrne has gone. You're not going to take the best part of a second a lap out of him, more than a second a lap out of him, which you would have to do. There's probably about 7 laps still to go in this race. And it's all now about the fight for second place in the 420Rs. Henry Heaton over the curbs through Eau Rouge. So Chris Hoy, by the way, is into 11th place. He's actually 21 seconds off the lead, but he's enjoying quite a nice battle with Paul Browse at the moment, just behind, a few seconds behind this group, which are 3, maybe 4 abreast here. In fact, I think they are 4 abreast. There's more wheel banging from Matt Higginson there, and Henry Heaton. Tim Dickens, I don't think, realised that they were 4 abreast and tried to force Heaton over, but there were 2 other cars to the left-hand side of Henry. Thankfully, we avoided a significant collision there under braking. Here's a replay. Look, you can see the run they get. They were already 4 abreast coming onto the straight, and then Dickens just starts moving over, but Heaton can't go anywhere because Higginson is there, and Higginson can't give way because Falvey's around the outside of him. In the end, Higginson backed out of it, I think, and let them all have it, knowing that there's plenty of time left yet. We are exactly halfway through this second and final race for the Avon Tyres Caterham 7 420Rs and the Santander Caterham 7 310R Championships. McCormack still leading in 310s, but Donald Henschel there making a move for 3rd position now as they go through La Source. The inside through the tight right-hander. And might have been able to make that stick, I think. Yes, he has. So Henschel, sorry, now ahead of Lee Bristow. Tom Grensinger and Jay McCormack proving difficult to move from the front of the queue, and they are teammates, so it is possible maybe that they're working together, but again, you can hear the hesitance in my voice. And down the straight they go, and now Lee Bristow pulls out, Tom Grensinger pulls out, and yeah, through into the lead maybe goes Donald Henschel. They're 3 abreast though, but Henschel I think will get it. Grensinger has to back out, so Donald Henschel then, in the space of 16 minutes nearly exactly, has gone from 19th on the grid to lead the Caterham 310R element of this race. Brilliant performance this from Henschel, who has got Tom Grensinger all over him though, and then with Lee Bristow into 3rd, Jay McCormack now gets shuffled off the podium for I think the first time, certainly for a few laps. In fact, Gordon Sawyer's just picked his pocket as well. So Gordon Sawyer in the yellow car now goes 4th. So Grensinger down to 5th. McCormack down to 5th. Grensinger still 2nd. Who on? Smoky tyres there for a few of them further back. All 79 getting very, very sideways there through the quick left-hander. That was Nathan Bell. And another car running wide in the background as well. But Gordon Sawyer now goes 3rd. Look at the inside of Jay McCormack. 4th, sorry. So tightly bunched together, it's easy to lose track of how many there are, but there's John Byrne. He's definitely leading the 420Rs now by 11.6 seconds, which in other words is about the length of the Kemmel Straight. For second place though, it's anybody's guess. Matt Higginson's up the inside of Henry Heaton here and getting a bit of an assist, I think, from Tim Dickens into Les Combes. And Higgins goes through, Higginson goes through, I should say. Heaton down to 3rd. Then Dickens, then Falvey, then Querbley. They're being caught now by Justin Armstrong and Chris Bates by the looks of it. And yeah, this is now going to become an even busier, 7-car pack now for second place. It's a shame in a way it's not for the race lead, but just because John Byrne's done a spectacular job here of breaking away. But Higgins, now that he's into 2nd, will be keen to try and make a break too if he can. He's got good speed this weekend. Possibly really the best performance we've seen from Higginson this year, I think, honestly. So this is good stuff, this, from Matt Higginson. Matt, who, when he arrived here, was only 11th in the points and hadn't yet had a podium finish, to my knowledge. 22 and 7 here. This is Sir Chris Hoy, the number 7 car. 22 just in front of him is Paul Browse. I said they were having this ding-dong battle. They're fighting over 10th place at the moment. They've unfortunately lost touch with the leaders. Chris Hoy, I'm sure, is feeling it though. He, as I said, did that mammoth 1-hour stint in the British GT race in the Multimatic Mustang that he shared with Andy Prio. And now in his 3rd race of the weekend. And of course these Caterham races are long, 30 minutes, quite a long time to be racing, and they're very physical because the cars don't have any aerodynamics, so the driver makes all of the time in the car by working hard, and Chris Hoy working hard there, running a bit wide out of Stavelot. He's on the tail of the 22 car then, up the hill into Blanchimont and to the completion of what will be their 7th lap of the race. The 420 are race leaders coming out the final corner. We're going to see a replay here of Donald Henschel waving at Lee Bristow to say, let's work together, and then everybody else not working together, and this is going to end in contact, isn't it? Yes, oh, that was Andrew Perry into the side of Jay McCormack, so two of our race-long front runners getting tangled together. Damage done to Perry's car by the looks of it, and McCormack, a lot of lost time. 310R battle, unfortunately going a little wrong. 420s though keeping it clean, and Matt Higginson all of a sudden is down to 5th place again, so Higginson really got shuffled out in the second half of that lap. And here comes Justin Armstrong now in the almost BMW art car inspired livery. And then at the back of the group is Chris Bates, one of the couple of yellow roll caged cars. Heaton versus Dickens now for 2nd place, and Dickens with the inside will make that look fairly easy. 10 minutes left on the clock. So we're into that final third of the race now, where the drivers really start to think about where they want to be on the final lap. Do they want to be out in front? Do they want to be 3rd or 4th in the line? You can never really fully predict it, but you can come up with a base plan maybe to try and figure out roughly where you want to be, because being out in front is not always an advantage really in this Caterham racing with the slipstream as it is. We saw that in the 270R and Road Sports races earlier on. The race leader going on to the final flat out section, even up towards Blanchimont on the last lap, did not win on either occasion. Maybe Falvey up the inside of Matt Higginson. Makes it work. Oh, and then locks up, does Henry Heaton. Henry Heaton locks up going into the pit path and runs out wide over the rubbish on the outside of the track, and then rejoins and starts banging wheels with Justin Armstrong, who gets nerfed into the dirt there. He'll fight back, no doubt, at the inside at Stavley, but he's not quite close enough. He'll have dirt on the tyres as well. And the DPR Motorsport car has to slot back in line, but Henry Heaton with a rare mistake there into pit path. And thankfully, there is a bit of tarmac runoff area there, but he obviously just carried a bit too much speed into the braking zone, braked a bit too late, and that was almost enough for his race to be all over. Gathered it together though. Now sets back off after the cars in front. Now, the cars in front are side by side again. Matt Higginson tried to get 2nd place and might actually end up dropping to about 5th, because around the outside comes Alex Querbley now. The red number 47 car does indeed get ahead of Higginson. So Higginson down to 4th. Tim Dickens 5th, right behind him, trying to seize the advantage if he can as well. Down to La Source again, and Querbley now looks to the inside. There's definitely an extra sense of urgency now. Some of these drivers who I think have been quite content to sit back and just let the race come to them, make sure they stay out of trouble, are now starting to be a little more aggressive in their attempts to move forward. Screech of tyres there, sideways car arrives in shot. That's Chris Aubrey, I think, who's the man on his own in 9th position. Heaton and Armstrong side by side again now, and Armstrong trying to the outside through Eau Rouge and ends up all the way off the road, and that means that the next car behind will be able to potentially get past as well. Chris Bates, that is. Donald Henschel there looking 18th place, is still leading the 310Rs, I believe, and has gained 21 positions overall from where he started on the grid. 18 of those for the 310Rs. In fact, he's not leading in the class anymore. It's now number 88, Pete Walters, that leads. So Walters in 17th overall leads the 310R element of the race. Was Henschel from Grensinger from Sawyer at the line, so again it's all changed really quickly. Sawyer giving the boot now to Henschel up the hill, and Grensinger tries to join in as well. They're 3 abreast for 2nd place, but they're going to be catching the race leader as well, and indeed they have overhauled him, or at least Henschel has. He's back out in front now, with Walters down to 2nd. Blanchimont into the bus stop, and Henschel back out in front then. But I don't think he's going to be able to stay there. I don't think anyone's going to be able to stay there, really. It's all going to come down to timing. And some of this is simply pot luck. If you find yourself with a run with maybe half a lap to go to get the lead, then you have to sort of run with it. But if that then means that you're out in front going up the hill to Blanchimont, then you're probably not going to win the race. But you can't slam on the brakes in a straight line. So it's hard to plan this all out, really. Through they come then on this lap with Henschel leading. Sawyer second, Walters third, Bristow fourth, and McCormack, I think, is starting to claw his way back into contention as well after that spin, half spin, I suppose, that he had at the first corner. That's Grensinger looking up the inside of Lee Bristow. That for fourth position in the 310Rs. We now inch towards the final 5 minutes of this race. What a race it's been. Fantastic stuff all round for both the 420Rs and the 310Rs. It's the 310s that now have the biggest pack of cars racing for a significant position, and it is for the race lead, and it's going to be Pete Walters, is it, that gets the lead? No, it's going to be Tom Grensinger around the outside from 5th to 1st. We've seen that before. Brilliant move that from Grensinger, and he goes ahead now, so Walters down to 2nd, Sawyer 3rd, Henschel 4th is the order for this corner. Will no doubt have changed again by the time we get to the end of the middle sector. It's a bit more difficult to overtake in the middle sector though, so may see them stay single file-ish, but not if the race leader has a big moment like that. That was a real save for Grensinger, who's slow off the turn as a result of that moment, and so Pete Walters in the 88 car tries to get alongside. Gordon Sawyer is next. Gordon Sawyer was 4th yesterday. Pete Walters really the big winner out of all of this. He was only 6th, so not in the top 5 yesterday. Alex Querbley, meanwhile, goes 2nd in the 420Rs. Matt Higginson again keeps trying this high line, which doesn't really seem to be working. So it's Querbley and Dickens from Falvey. With Higginson now, they're all pulling away from Henry Heaton, who suddenly seems to have lost some pace. He's fallen well and truly into the clutches of Chris Bates and Justin Armstrong. Off has gone car number 6, that is, and that was coming out of Huon, I think. Richard Lambert, car number 10, with the moment. Not quite sure how he got there, but the race leaders are about to approach Blanchimont, almost 3 and 4 wide again, and round the outside is coming Donald Henschel again. Can he make that stick round the outside of Pete Walters? No, Walters gets into Blanchimont first, and then they're all tripping over each other again, and a sideways moment for one of the cars there at the back of the shot, and that very nearly caused calamity coming out of the quickest corner on the track. Who was that got sideways? It was the number 11, was that possibly? Which would make sense. It was either Andrew Perry or, yeah, it must have been Andrew Perry, I think, number 11. Yes, it was. So Perry, with a, oh no, 71, excuse me, which is the... we're going to see a replay first of all of, whoa, look at that for Donald Henschel. Bounces over the end of the curve and the AstroTurf coming out to Puon. That will have caught his attention, no doubt, but partly because of that, he's now down to 5th position again. 3 minutes on the clock then. 2 laps, possibly 3 left for the 310Rs. It all depends when the 420s start their final lap, of course, which they have just done. So the 420s will get another 2 laps in them, which means that these cars will have 3 laps, including the one they're on, basically, because they're nearly a full lap behind the 420R leaders. There is the 2nd place battle, with Falvey now ahead of Querbley. Dickens, Higginson and the rest in behind. Armstrong and Bates, they're in amongst some back markers now as well, so the some of the slightly slower 310Rs now finding their mirrors filled with some of the outright race leaders, but they're doing a good job there to stay out of the way. So Falvey then. Oh, around goes number 12, that is. And number 12 is Andy Whitten from the 310Rs. Up at Les Combes, that is. 3 guesses how he got there. John Byrne, though, is getting, well, he's not getting away, he's got away 20.6 seconds clear, and he's put in some performances like this already this year. At Alton Park, he came from the very back of the grid to win a race a month or so ago. It was a spectacular drive. Given the pole position and the lead into the first corner, Byrne was never really going to look back, and indeed he hasn't. Flapping there on the 38 car that John Byrne is about to put a lap on. That's 38 Jeff Price. Stay out of the way, I'm sure. Number 9 is Caroline Everett, the lady racer, I think the only lady racer in the championship this weekend at least. Gets a lap down to John Byrne then, who will be going on to the final lap of the race this time by, because there is just over a minute left and it won't quite take him a minute to get back to the start-finish line. Last sector's fairly short, so John Byrne just needs to pick off these back markers. He'd rather not have to deal with the back markers, I'm sure, because that's just another thing that could go wrong. But they so far seem to be behaving themselves and staying out of his way. There is the number 3 car waving indeed at the back markers, partly to warn them he's coming, partly to thank them when he's gone. Ooh, runs wide there through Blanchimont, runs the risk of exceeding track limits if he keeps doing that. I don't think he's quite going to catch the 3:10 lead, as they've just gone into La Source now, and John Byrne is, even though he's got another lap, he's still got just over the length of the pit straight. But if he were to catch them, that could really be a fly in the ointment for him, and indeed for the 3:10 cars scrapping for the podium positions. He's still encountering lots of scrapping 3:10s though, so has to pick his places here to get through. As tempting as it is just to try and drive straight past them, it's not quite as easy as that. There is a small car advantage for John Byrne. There you can see it, he's definitely got more straight line speed and uses the toe as well to get up the inside into Eau Rouge for the final time this weekend. Back with the 310R race leaders, and that's now, is that 71 back out in front, Alan Cooper? I think it is, yes it is, with Tom Grensinger second, Lee Bristow third, Gordon Sawyer fourth, and rounding out the top 5 now, Pete Walters. Handily, the last 5 places in the top 20 on your scoring column are the 3 leading 310Rs, so I hope you've been keeping up with most of the overtaking going on in the lead group here. Down the hill, through corner with no name, and now they really are starting to think about that last lap. Where do they want to be? Do they want to be, well, where in this pack? There are 2, 4, 6, 8 of them minimum that are going to settle this, and it is possible to go from 8th to 1st in one move. 94 is off, unfortunately. That is up at Lake Com, I think. And 94 is Aman Upal, who started at the back of the grid after having retired yesterday. Bristow up the inside of Tom Grensinger for second. Gordon Sawyer trying to follow him through, but to no avail. There are more drivers in this group, though, by the second, it seems. 27 is Matt Topham, the sort of orange and black stripe livery just there. Behind him is Jay McCormack. Donald Henschel still part of this group as well, albeit further back than we saw him for most of the middle part of the race. They're about to go on to their final lap, and Henschel gets a good exit there from Stavelo, pulls alongside. Always all 4 wheels on the grass, that won't go well. Has to let them go back through again. Lee Bristow, though, goes through into the race lead and has around the outside of him several other cars trying to come through. Grensinger has just about, I think, held on to second and might even be able to challenge for the race lead here. Again, under braking for the bus stop, but does he want to be leading? We're about to go on to that last lap, and there seems to be a real scrum here to get to the very front. It seems like some of the drivers are just sort of attacking all the time and hoping that the timing works out well for them. The timing has worked out well for them, though, because it means they will get one more lap, because John Byrne is coming through now to take the checkered flag and take the victory in the second race of the weekend for the 2019 Avon Tyres Caterham 7 420 Championship. Round number 10 of the season goes to John Byrne, and with just 4 more races to go, 2 at Donington and 2 at Brands Hatch, he's looking good for the title. Second place in the 420Rs eventually will come back through, and it was Tim Dickens who had it the last at the end of sector 2, and yes, now he does come through in second place just about, from Jamie Falvey third, Coerbly fourth, Heaton fifth, Higginson sixth, Armstrong seventh, and Chris Bates eighth, with Chris Aubrey and Russ Olivan ninth. And then 11th position will be car number 80, Alex Jordan, with Chris Hoy, I think, down in 13th at the moment. Right, back to the 310s, who've still got the best part of a lap to go. And Donald, no, it's not Donald Henschel, that's 115 into third position, not 119. So 115 is David Yates, who started 29th on the grid, did David Yates. And all of a sudden, right on the last lap, he's into third position. So Yates in the similar coloured car to that of Henschel, but Henschel's right at the back of this group now and not really a part of it. Oh, Jay McCormack locking up, nearly getting into the back of one of the cars in front of him, the 110, I think that was, of John Chiverell. Oh, green flag. Someone's been off at Brussels then. There's an incident at the previous corner. It was obviously a harmless spin though, because the green flag goes back in as soon as it came out. Lee Bristow then with the lead in the orange car with Grensinger, Yates, Cooper and Sawyer, his nearest oppositions at this corner. All about though that run up to Blanchimont, and are we going to see, I'm sure we will see, some slipstreaming overtaking, but with such a big pack chasing down the race leader, if they start racing over second, that might free him up to pull away, but they'll still probably be quicker than him in a straight line. So Lee Bristow second yesterday to Tom Grensinger, and then the other way round at the moment then, Bristow ahead of Grensinger 1 and 2, but this is where the race will be decided then, on the run out of Corporal Frere and into Blanchimont. And Grensinger will pick up a slight toe now, the blue and yellow car second place. Got a bit of a gap back to Yates as well in third, so not under too much pressure, and this is looking good for Grensinger to get the double. He pulls out to the inside line. He's going to go through, is he? Yeah, Lee Bristow, there's nothing he can do to stop it. The best thing he can do instead is to try and duck back in line and get a better run into the bus stop, which he might be able to do. One car over the grass there in fourth position, but it's all about the race leaders now who go side by side. Watch out for David Yates. He might go up the inside of both of them, and he does. He tries to anyway, but there's no room through there. Grensinger, I think, is going to hang on. Yates is sideways. No, right round the outside goes Lee Bristow. The door is slammed in his face, though. And Tom Grensinger is going to do the double. He won yesterday in filthy conditions. Today it was a proper dry weather Caterham race, and it is Grensinger that takes the race victory. Second place goes to Lee Bristow. Third goes to David Yates, and that is Andrew Perry, I think, losing his... Not Andrew Perry, it's Alan Cooper losing his nose cone there as he came across the start-finish line to finish just outside the top 5. But a fantastic race that was. And speaking of bodywork, lots of souvenirs for the hard-working marshals there. They deserve a bit of a gift at the end of the day. There's probably enough bits of Caterham out there to assemble a whole new Caterham. And maybe the marshals can get the club together to build their own race car and go racing in it, built out of parts discarded around the circuit. So John Byrne then is a dominant winner in the 420Rs, all by virtue of the fact that he broke the toe at the start of the race. Jamie Falvey in second, Tim Dickens third, Coerbley fourth, Higginson fifth, then Heaton, Armstrong, Bates, Aubrey and Alex Jordan round out the top 10. Paul Browse and Russ Oliver were 11th and 12th. Chris Hoy dropped to 13th in the end, ahead of Welch and Ian Sparshot in 15th. Doug Fane was next, then Tom Grensinger then, who won the 310Rs after that last corner, or last lap move on Lee Bristow, who is second. David Yates is third, Matt Topham fourth, Jay McCormack fifth, then Pete Walters, Donald Henschel, John Chiverell, Alan Cooper and Gordon Sawyer round out the top 10 in the 310Rs. Big grid of 310Rs as well. They are one of the best subscribed grids out there, and wherever you were in that race, you had someone to race with, but a lot of the 310Rs ended up going a lap down to the 420R leader. The usual format is that they don't mix the grids. Usually the drivers all get their own races, and that is the plan again for Donington and Brands Hatch. Since we've got the full Spa circuit as our use this weekend, then they might as well fill it, and fill it they did. Highlights then of our final racing from the Caterham Championships this weekend. In the 420Rs, John Byrne made the best start from pole position and led them into the first corner, and led them out to the first corner and led the whole way after that, really, because behind him they were really starting to fight for second place. In the 310Rs, Tom Grensinger started from pole, but those positions changed every single lap. There was drama for Aaron Head though. He tangled with Matt Higginson and went into the barriers at the top of the Kemmel Straight. Higginson continued, Head would rejoin, but eventually ended up in the pit lane to retirement. Donald Henschel was making some good ground up in the 119 car in the 310 category, whilst there was more wheel banging involving Matt Higginson at the top of the hill a few laps later. Jay McCormack got tapped into a spin by Andrew Perry, whilst Henry Heaton locked up, ran wide, and was never really a factor in the 420R battle beyond them. Finished in 6th place in the end. Henschel's race continued to entertain with a bouncy moment out of Pouon, but John Byrne was a dominant victor in the 420Rs, whilst in the 310Rs it was a double race victory for Tom Grensinger.